Okay. All right,
Got
guys.
it.
Woo woo. See, Nicole's not the only one that forgets to record. I do too. All right, guys. So I want to just review a little bit about last week. How many of you guys like really enjoyed the exercise? Give me a raise of hands if you guys really enjoyed like getting at starting to like dig a little deeper into your goals for 2026. And one of the things I want to review, guys, and is before we move forward, I really want you guys to think about some of these goals that you created that we call these impossible goals or these stretch goals. And I'm going to give you the pillars again, but I want you to do a little work before we roll into this session. And I want you to kind of think about what pillars felt heavy when you wrote about them. Like when you wrote these stretch goals, which ones felt heavy? Which ones did you maybe want to like rush through? Which ones, like what answers like that you came up with surprised you? Um, I'm super curious, and if you guys need to know, like these are the pillars again. So remember the four pillars that you guys were creating these stretch goals around were fitness, how you move, how you fuel your body, how you recover, all of these things. We talked about the pillar of faith, which is really, how you ground yourself, lead yourself, reconnect. This could be however whatever your faith is and however you connect. Flow, we talked about flow being really like it can be relationships. It's how you handle it. It can be a relationship with yourself, with your spouse, with your friends, with your family. Like, how do you handle emotions, stress, boundaries, conversations? Financial is, it can be work, career, business, financial. These are the fourth pillars. And Nicole, you weren't on our last call, but we gave them all F names. So they all start with F. So thinking about that a little bit, guys, and as you come up with some of these, and again, the questions that I want you to ask yourself before we move into this session, and you're looking at those pillars, like were there specific ones that, because everything means something that felt like a little bit heavy or like, oh, shit, when you wrote about them, were there ones that you would just want to like quickly get through? Were there some that were really easy to write and create goals around? And
Yep,
maybe
yep,
even some
yep.
that you were like, holy shit, like this really surprised me. I didn't know that this was a goal of mine. And I know that some of you guys have answers to this because some of you have already shared them in your check-ins. You're like, holy shit, I just never thought about that before. So take a few minutes to write about that. If some of you guys already have something written down and you want to share, I can only see one, two, three, four, five, six of you guys. So you'll have to like hit your little reaction and raise your hand if you want me to call on you. Because I can only see like four of your faces because I'm sharing my screen and I know we have a lot of you guys on here. And because I can see Nicole, I'm even going to let her watch the comments. You guys can drop in the comments too if you want to just share in the comments. But I would love to hear again, looking at all the pillars, guys, which one?
Tina's ready.
Who?
Tina can share.
Tina?
Yep.
Awesome. I see your hand. Go for it, Tina. You need some help, Mama? Ask to unmute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Now I can.
Okay. Obvious for one for me was fitness because that's why we're all here.
Mm-hmm.
We all have goals, and so that one was pretty easy for me. Um, I think the ones I was trying to rush through really is family because I have some unresolved issues with family members. I'm trying to work through. So that one was like, okay, I need to get better with this. I need to forgive and forget. It's hard to forgive and forget, but I need to. And then financial, I was like, God, I hate financial crap. But so that one I was trying to work through. But I think faith and fitness were pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
But damn, like family and friends, not so much because I have a lot of friends. But yeah, trying to resolve like s- um, my mom and I haven't been all that close, but we've gotten closer since she's gotten older and I've gotten older, and she's almost 80, so I'm like, she's not gonna be around forever, so I gotta kind of, you know, so I've had some unresolved issues that I'm working through with her, and we've gotten closer, but I can take her in small doses. I think a lot of us women are kind of like that with their mothers because
Yeah.
Doug's like, "You're turning into your mother." I was like, "No, I'm not." He's like,
Mhm.
"No, I'm not."
Mhm.
So that one was kind of a one I wanted to get rushed through and financial, but I think, like I said, faith and fitness were pretty easy.
And this is normal, guys. You're gonna have ones that, you might even have ones that are stronger, some that you actually feel really secure in, and then there's gonna be ones that feel a little bit different, a little bit uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah,
and then just dialing into Tina, like what is the actual goal, and I'm going to assume just listening to you is to have that stronger relationship, right? And then
right.
as we go through today, you're going to see some, like, we're going to break it down and like how do we do things so like we can achieve those goals and they don't feel so overwhelming or stressful. So thank you for sharing. Irene, I see your hand up.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So Tina made me think of something. The word boundaries. I know it's coming up a lot for a lot of people, but this idea of setting boundaries,
Mm.
to make time
Mhm.
for me, setting boundaries to not be overwhelmed, like it's all day long and learning like no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. No is saying yes to yourself. Yeah.
Think there's a
And
big too when you understand that boundaries are meant to keep people in. They're not necessarily meant to push people out.
Mhm.
And sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times we struggle more than setting boundaries with other people. We struggle with setting boundaries with ourselves. And once we get really confident in setting boundaries with ourselves, the no or the not right now or the my needs and priorities come first, it just starts to flow effortlessly. And then you start to lead by example. But when I made that shift for me, it's like, no, these boundaries are meant to give me my peace and my sanity back. That shift right there changed everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true. It's keeping things in, not, always letting go. And sometimes, and here's the other thing to think. I think you and I talked a little bit on your check-in too, Irene. And something to remember, guys, is like when you hold your peace and you have these boundaries in place, like everything else like starts to get easier in all of the pillars. And then in fact, you even start to attract a new tribe so much as well too. Like sometimes people start to go some, and like you ever heard the saying, every door that closes another door opens, right? It can be the same thing with people as you start to create and you step into this 2.0 version of yourself and you start using, no more, you start to attract different types of people. I know that happened for me. Like I didn't always hang around with a lot of fitness people, but as I changed the way that I behaved, what I put out, and I started protecting the things that were important to me, I suddenly found myself in a whole new tribe of people. And that doesn't mean it's always fitness people, but you know what I mean? You attract what you put out. So I love that. Absolutely. Anything else that you guys want to add? Did anybody want to share some of their big, before we move to like some of their big impossible goals that you guys shared, some of the big things that you got a little uncomfortable with and put that down and said, you know what? No, this is really what I want. Because remember, the opportunity is to the bigger the goal you put out there, the ones that feel the most uncomfortable are generally the ones that if they're what you really want, and anything is possible, like we talked about last week. Like you guys can set any type of goal you want. It's how you approach it, how you break it down, which is what we're going to talk about next. What are some of the ones that you might have put out there? I got to go through the arrows. Oh, anybody want to share? I'm looking at everybody in here.
You guys can use the chat feature too, if that feels more comfortable.
Yep, you totally can, because we can see that. Jen, what's your impossible goal? Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Which Jen are you talking to? Me?
Yeah, we're Jen, and I'll unmute. Oh, you, Jen.
You,
Me,
Jen.
Jen?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I don't know what my impossible goal is because I feel like I'm just still like meeting my impossible goal, which is not really, I don't feel like it's impossible anymore. So
Mm.
I'm kind of, because I've gotten to that place where I know it's possible, like I've
Mhm.
gotten that confidence in knowing, because it seemed impossible at one point, but weaving in and out of going and bumping my head, being a knucklehead several times, weaving in out of this, still lingering with old habits, shifting to new habits, having those old habits creep in, shifting to new habits. Like I know it's possible. It's just me trusting myself enough. And so I haven't really thought about it yet. Well, I'll tell you. Okay. Well, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I want to do a run, right? Because I've never done a run before.
Mhm.
But then I'm like, I hate running. Why would I want to do that? But I'm so competitive. I just want to do the impossible just so I could say I did the impossible just to say it. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Because I already hit stage. That was like my big impossible goal. And I'm already feel like I'm a competitor. I'm a bodybuilder now. Like that's who I am. That's who I've become. I own that. I claim that. But that was my first impossible goal well, I think it was like a fitness magazine. Like I wanted to be on a fitness magazine, but then I was like, well, no, maybe I do want to be on stage. So, so I think, but at this point, I'm just building. I'm just building, and then maybe when I'm 50, I might hit that stage again. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So,
And that's okay. That's
yeah.
all right. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to continue to move on. So, guys, I'll give
You want
this.
to read some of these comments though, because I think that they're
Oh,
powerful before we move on. We'll
thank
start
you.
to interrupt.
You got to just tell me when I have comments. I
Nope,
did
you're
not
fine.
read them. Thank you.
So a couple, like Amy said, nothing really feels impossible, which I love that you guys have that mentality. It may be a big goal. It's not necessarily an impossible goal. It may stretch me, it may scare me, but it's not impossible. I love that mentality. And then Jen said, she's like, and I think that this is powerful, and I'm sure a lot of you maybe even share this a little bit. I can't seem to get past my fears to get shit to paper and know what I want. I'm struggling so hard.
Mhm. So, struggling on how to get things to paper. Talk to me about that a little bit. Is it a fear of, I want to, like we touched on this last time. So if we're struggling to get things on the paper, let's kind of like break that down. Is it because like if I put it down on paper, there could be, now I have to do it, and what if I don't do it? Is that a little bit of what could be happening? Because that's generally how it feels. The first time you put something down, and nothing is impossible. That's, and then the reason why we give them this impossible name is you want to look for the thing that feels the most uncomfortable. So when it feels uncomfortable and you struggle to write it down, that's okay. That's almost the thing that you want to put out there. Because once it comes out of here and it flows out of your hand onto that piece of paper, it does become very real. And that could be the struggle, because then it's like, holy shit, I just put that down. Like Jen just talked about, she just kind of hemmed and hawed. She's like, I don't know. Like, because if the words come out of her mouth and she says, I want to run, shit, maybe I got to do that kind of thing. Like, damn it, I just put it right out there into the universe for the whole world to hear. So talk to me a little bit about that, Jen. Is that kind of what's happening? Is like, oh my God, if I put this down, it might actually come true. I might have to, or, what is that feeling around that?
I guess maybe like D, all the above a little bit.
Hmm?
And just like this like the failure kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Just, like I've like a lot of trauma. And so like, I've not tried to do like a lot of work like around that and like never feeling good enough, even though my husband of almost 30 years says I'm more than good enough for anything, but still trying to break that is, it's really hard. So I guess just like, yeah, if like a couple things, if I put it down and then it doesn't happen, I'm gonna like beat myself up about it, I guess, probably. I mean, I know I still have a lot of time between now and then to put in the work, but I guess that would be probably the main issue.
Mm-hmm. Let's normalize that. That's normal. That's normal for everybody. How about if we reframe it? What if you win? Instead of what if I fail, what if I actually do the thing? Remember last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about what if you actually won? What if it actually happened? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Flipping that script in your head.
Can you bring me another water?
Sure. Like, does that, like, it's scary to think
Yeah,
about that, Jency, but like
it is.
really, what would it, so I'm going to challenge you to like look at these things because you talked about this, like even on last Wednesday's call. And, what if you won? What if it really happened? What would it feel like? What would it look like? What would that be? Instead of like, what if it didn't? What if it does?
Yeah.
Because what we're going to talk about today is like how to almost break that down, how to take it like month by month and break these things down so they actually feel a little bit easier. Like basically like what I have here is, how do you eat the elephant? Have anybody ever heard this saying before? How do you eat the elephant? In the room, one bite at a time, on purpose. Because you can't transform your life like I have here. Like you can't do it all at once. Any of you guys, like anybody that's thinking about this, and Jen kind of talking with you right now too, like it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen through very small intentional decisions that you do on repeat. How do you build a muscle?
One rep at a time.
Yeah. So how do you get to those things that, when you're looking at these stretch goals, how do you get there? You're going to get there one day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute, like, so breaking them down, but taking that, making that decision, and then intentionally just taking that step towards it, whatever that might be. When I decided I wanted to be a bodybuilder myself, that was the most ludicrous thing that I'd ever told myself. Like, I thought I was nuts. I had 3 heads. The woman, my coach at the time who told me that I could do it, she had a very unique way of showing me how this was going to happen. But it worked, and it was what landed the plane for me, because one of the, basically what she taught me, guys, was that, and this is relating physically, right, to something like a fitness goal, but you can actually take these words and make them applicable to anything in your life. And it's, your body's capable of anything. Your mind is the one thing that will trip you up every time. It's going to be the thing that says, no, you can't. This is too hard. This may not be true. Anything like that. And the way that she showed me that is she took my body to failure, right? And she showed me what body failure was, and then left me laying on the floor, staring at her like I didn't, but she took me to body failure, and that's what landed the plane for me. And she was like, that's failure right there. But up until this point, it was your mind telling you that you couldn't. And for me, that was the one thing, don't ask me why, but it was the one thing that made me believe, oh, I could do this if I wanted to. So knowing that everything is possible, and then just trying to see yourself in that light, Renee says, my biggest takeaway from the work from the last session is really looking at what version of me reaches this goal. How do I act, think, show up? That was a huge one for you. Yes, actually, absolutely. Like really starting to step into that place. I love this, Renee, too. And that's another thing, guys, like another very big, valuable piece of information that was once taught to me, which wrapped around this a lot, was somebody asked me once, well, if you want to be a pro bodybuilder, how do they act? How do they show up? How do they do things? So stepping into that place and almost visualizing yourself there and acting as if, Jen, it's already done.
That's
It
probably the hardest part
It
ever.
is. Yeah, it is. It can be. W- and hard because, talk to me a little more.
I guess deserving in a way, and shape, like maybe not deserving, but just kind of, I don't know the word that I would use. Not deserving, because I know that I deserve it.
Mhm,
Like deep down, I know that truth,
mhm.
but I don't know. It's so hard to describe. It's so hard to find like the right words. I guess that's what I struggle with the most.
Do a little, this is a side exercise that you can do that can help. It's called brain dumping, and a lot of you guys can do this when you want to work through things. And it's an exercise that can sometimes help. I call it brain dumping, and it's just starting to let the words come out, like whatever they might be, and one word will follow the other. So whatever's in here, let it come on paper. So ask yourself, like you said, I can't find the words. So just write whatever word comes to mind, like you said, deserving, and you just keep writing. Like, well, then you ask yourself, well, why do I feel this way? Well, what is this happening? And you just keep asking questions, and it'll just keep coming out on paper. And you're basically dumping it out of your mind onto a piece of paper. And sometimes that exercise can help. And then you're going to cut, sometimes you can look at that piece of paper and go, oh, what's all that stuff? That's a little scary. But the more that you do that, the more it's like getting it out from here onto the paper where you can look at it. And eventually it helps you to work through some of that stuff. So that's something that you can try to do, is some brain dumping on it. That way you're kind of in your own safe little space where you can kind of ask yourself those questions and only you are seeing those answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Does that help?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll feel a little weird,
It
but
will. It will definitely feel a little weird, but it's a way of journaling. But it can be definitely very, very helpful. Let's see if I've got anything else here. So another way of making some of these things start to feel a little bit more comfortable, and guys, this is where we're kind of starting to pull in some of the questions that Coach Jen and I ask on your weekly check-in. So coming in and starting to break things down into, I'm giving things names here, like monthly missions. Okay. So how do you eat the elephant in the room one point in time, right? We talk about SMART goals, but looking at things and remembering that, we can't, we all come lying in here, like all of us included. We're always trying to overhaul our lives as females. We want to fix everything, right? We want to, and that's something that we really want to stop doing, it like this all or nothing mentality. Let's come in and just overhaul everything. Let's fix it. And really starting to take an action in a way of things that we can follow through on. So like if we start to eat the elephant one bite at a time versus trying to, like, remember 2 weeks ago we talked about like the top of the mountain. Like we always want to jump up here. That's where that diet culture even comes from. We're like, let's just leap up here. But what we want to do is create these steps that are going to get us here. These are these habits. So versus like, let's just get it all done. Let's just do it right now, rip the band-aid off, overhaul, fix it, do the things that we all like to do as females, starting to like look at things like, what can we actually follow through on? What is that thing? And that doesn't mean we can't follow through on the big thing, but what can we follow through on right now this month? So taking it and like not trying to, as I said here, do more, right? But doing less sometimes better on repeat. So remember, because transformation, like we talked about last time, is what's going to create. You hear us talk about this on a lot of our calls with you. Like, we're looking for that end goal in anything, like whether it's your fitness, your faith, your flow, whatever it is, whatever you transform in your life, you want that to be something that lasts, that's consistent, right? And that's going to take the right tools and the awareness around it. So what we want to do is we want to take each one of those goals that you guys have written down, and we want to look at them in a way that we can break them down and look at them in very separately. So I put this in here to help you guys. Asking yourself a question every month when you look at each one of your goals. So you guys can look at your pillars right now. And if I nailed this, if I did this one thing this month, just this one thing this month in this pillar, it would be this to move the needle. And some of you guys have heard me talk about this in check-in. So like in fitness, I've got things that are very, very basic, but they could be much bigger. Like if I started meal prepping on Sundays. Maybe you currently meal prep every day and you're kind of like all over. Like if I started consistently meal prepping on Sundays and maybe I sat down on Sundays and I planned my workouts, this is one thing that would move me closer to this big goal that I have, whatever that might be in your fitness goal. So a lot of times, like when you first start out, you have a larger, sometimes it is weight loss, sometimes it is getting stronger, whatever that is. In the beginning of your weight loss journey or your journey with us, it gets easy, right? Because it's nutrition, it's water, it's fitness, it's getting your steps in. But as we start to get closer to our goal, sometimes we have to think about now what's next. So breaking it down, like what are the things that you need to do? Do I need to this month focus on moving 10,000 steps a day versus 9,000 steps? Or maybe you currently do 10 and okay, I'm going to 12 or 15, like putting a goal, because maybe your goal is you're going to start hitting, you're going to start walking 15,000 steps a day, 20,000, like you have, that's one of your goals, or your goal is whatever you need to do to get towards that. I'm being pretty generic here in the fitness one, but what do you have to do to get closer to that goal? In faith, it could be something like, I check in with myself instead of running on autopilot. I wrote that one down for myself. Like something that I can do better for this month is I can do a better job of checking in with myself instead of always just doing things automatically. With flow, we talked about friends and family. Like, is it something like I stop? Somebody talked about this earlier, Tina. I stop letting, I don't know that you necessarily have resentment, but I stop letting resentment build and I actually say what I need. That could be fitting to one of your goals, Tina. Financial, like, or your career or your business. I put something like due to financial, like I stop avoiding numbers and I look at them weekly. I mean, has anybody, like some people don't want to look at their bank accounts. Some people don't want to look at their finances. So there could be little things like that. Or maybe somebody talked to me earlier this week about their career. They're like, well, this is where I want to be in the next few years in my career. And I just said to her in a check-in, I think it might be Tara, she might even be on here. I'm like, well, what can you do right now to get yourself closer to that goal? Like, what is something that you can focus on this month to get yourself? And it might be something outside of the box, something that you never thought about before. I said to her, maybe it's getting at the right tables with the right people. Things that, and it might not be this huge thing that you have to do. It might be a small thing, and you can commit to trying to make that shift for a month. I see Nicole's nodding her head. I like it. But like looking at this, guys, and the one thing like we talked about last week is all of these things connect. Like we heard Tina talking earlier about like, goals that, family and I think she said faith was easy, like family and financial were a little harder. Those are the ones you want to lean into too, because when you shift one of these things, any one of these pillars, when you start to shift one of them, you start getting momentum. And specifically, like in this group, you're going to start getting momentum in your fitness. That breeds confidence. And that confidence spills over into a lot of these other pillars. So don't be afraid to stretch yourself in these pillars. So if there's one thing, you guys can worksheet this a little bit if you want. Does anybody want to share on this? By the way, I did create a worksheet for you guys for this. Who wants to expand on this a little bit? Nicole. More is better, intentional. Yeah. More is not better, intentional is better. Being very intentional.
I think like Joel says, this all comes down to awareness, and what's landing for me is, and I've heard this saying, and I'm sure you guys have too, and I repeat it often because I think it's powerful, but it's fear is a mile wide, but it's an inch deep. And it's one of those things that we tend to really in our head want to at least for me, dramatize certain things. They don't have to be as dramatic as I make them out to be. And that's why I love the word intentional, because if you can get really crystal clear on what these goals are in each pillar, like Joel said, and you give yourself these goals and you get crystal clear, and then you can spread your effort into these one thing that's going to have this snowball effect, like she says. And I think what happens for a lot of people is like Joel says, as females, we're naturally fixers and we want to tackle everything all at once, all of the time. And then we just basically we spread ourselves way too thin instead of getting really intentional about that one thing and how can I move my needle forward. And it's just the same concept as progressive overload, right? Like it's that 1% better mentality. I show up 1% better, that's 7% better a week, which over the course of a year, right, just 365. 1% better every single day is 365% better over the course of the entire year. So what if you showed 1% in every one of these areas over the next year? How far would that move your needle? Instead of looking at this, it's just no different than I have 50 pounds to lose. Okay, cool. Yes. But how can we break this down into, okay, I don't want to think about the 50 pounds I need to lose. I want to think about what's right ahead of me right now. What do I need to accomplish today? And sometimes it can feel so overwhelming. It's hour by hour, however you want to look at that. But if you were to just take the 1%, just the 1%, and you showed up 1% better. And I know that it seems marginal and I know it seems like, why even bother? But it compounds. And it snowballs. And then before you know it, by the end of the year, maybe it's financial. My goal is, I think Renee said, buy a car. You put $20 a week or $20 a day, whatever that is, and you stick it into a savings account over the course of the year, you've just stacked $6,000, $7,000 into an account. And it's just like, okay, $20. You get where I'm going at here. So if you look at it and you break it down and you get really intentional and we stop trying to, at least, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I'm a drama queen. Like when I get something in my head, I like ask my husband, I'm like, the whole world is ending. And so with that being said, it's like we pull ourselves back down to reality. And I love asking, Anne's really great about this. If you guys have ever joined any of Anne's calls, I love her dearly. And she's worked through in just a lot of personal sessions one-on-one. And she asked the question, she's like, Nicole, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Like, I want you to look at this. It's like you're freaking out. What is the worst possible thing that could happen? If this really does happen, what is the worst possible thing? And it's like when she says it like that, I'm like, well, and she's like, okay. So, right? Like you are in your head making this so much more than what it really is. And so I think if we just get really intentional and you apply the same concept of progressive overload as you do with your training sessions, and you apply that to 1% better within every single pillar, you've got 365% improvement in all areas here. So I think that's the way that we need to break it down and look at this.
Yeah. And guys, I love that. I love that, guys. And that's why we say, take on your check-in sheets, we ask for we're like, what are the stretch goals? And you're like, well, and you're writing the same stretch goal over and over. And then we're like, well, what is the goal this month? That's where you want to focus on. So take it. What can I focus on intentionally for this month? And then that intentional goal for the month gets broken down, as Nicole said, into now a daily non-negotiable, right? So this month I want to, if we go back to finances, and I think we talked about this last time, and I remember I had somebody, I think it was last year, their goal was to save X amount of dollars, for, I think it was a kid's college. So then it was like, okay, well, this month I need to, in order to get to this amount of money to be able to do this thing, I have to save this much this month. But then every week it was like 500 a week for, do you see what I'm like? If you create it, you can break it all the way down to these little daily goals that now are going to propel you to that bigger goal. But they're bite size, as Nicole said. And if you're doing those repeatedly over and over every day, every hour, every minute, it adds up. It starts to give you receipts. And the thing that about that is when you get those little receipts, that is earning trust with yourself. Now you've just earned trust. You're like, oh, shit. So Gen Z, like, oh, you do that one little thing that gets you a little bit closer to that goal. And you're like, oh, shit, I trust myself now. Because a lot of these things is we just don't trust ourselves to do it. I can speak for myself. I don't always trust myself to be able to hit that huge goal. You know, the difference between, I think I said this to you guys on a last, on our other call, is the difference between a millionaire, and maybe there's millionaires in here, I don't know, I'm not one, but between myself, I'll speak about myself, and a millionaire is just that. It's what they believe in. It's how they're approaching it. It's just that. Like, they don't see the ceiling there, and that's where they're always going, is towards that ceiling. They repeatedly, they break it down into bite-sized pieces, and they're doing things. But any one of us could be a millionaire in here. And when you become one, please call me. But any of us could. It all has to do with that belief system.
And I think there's a world where you have to, for me, it was like faking it until I made it kind of thing, right? And you have to own it to become it. And you're not always going to believe that you can do the thing. And the belief is going to come after the evidence. But it's like, as Jules said, it is how does she wanted to be a bodybuilder? She wanted to step on stage. And that requires a complete identity shift. Nobody who's ever stepped on stage in an itty bitty little bikini stepped on there without completely overhauling this and the identity. And I say this all the time, but your identity drives your actions and your actions drive your outcome. Point blank, end of story. So if you guys are waking up every single day and you're afraid and you're a girl that you don't deserve, you're not worthy, you can't do, your effort going into that is going to be a 2. Therefore, the outcome is going to be a 2. And I'm not saying it's always going to feel comfortable. I'm not going to always say that I've hit some pretty big milestones within things that I've wanted to do. If you would have told me 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. I'm like, who do you think you are? I couldn't even show up on camera. I was too afraid what everybody else thought about me, from Susie down the road. What if she saw my TikTok for this? And so it's just one of those things that I never honestly believed I ever would have been in the position that I am today. But I am so ungodly grateful that I did not listen to that voice that wanted to keep me there. And I just had to keep. And it was like, a lot of times I was faking it. I fake it. And everyone's like, you're so confident. A lot of times that was just like pure ass, just fake it till you make it kind of concept. And so it's just one of those, put yourself within that identity. You have to really claim that identity. And as Jules said, it's just a lot of this is going to come down to who you choose to surround yourself with, what you choose to like consume. Your diet is so much more than just what you eat, you guys. It is your social circle. It is, what you put in your brain. It's what you listen to. There is so much more. And so if you want to be the millionaire, you want to be the entrepreneur, you need to put yourself in the room of millionaires. You need to put yourself in the room of competitors, into the room of, and that's where the power of this tribe is. And not to say that everybody has the same goals, whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but it is making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people that bring and elevate that energy and bring you and pull you to a new power instead of pulling you down. And there's so much power leading into the new year of like, whether it be a social media cleanse, whether it be, a circle cleanse, whether it be whatever that is, but really getting intentional about the diet. And I'm talking in all aspects, what you consume, who you surround yourself with. I am so people laugh at me because they see my following, they see what I have online. But if you were to know me in real life, I have like 3 real friends. And it's because I'm really, really intentional about and I mean, in real life, who I surround myself. and who I really choose to bring into my world and into my circle, because that makes such a massive, massive impact. And so just really being cognizant of this as you guys move through this exercise and you guys are putting your vision board together, it's like, yes, in your head, but I want you to start thinking about if you want to become more spiritual. I want you to start thinking about if you want to, make more money. Like, how does, like Jules says, how does that person act? Who do they surround themselves with? How does that person dress? How do they talk? What do they listen to?
Mhm.
Who do they identify as?
Yeah.
That's my
All that. You guys have to lean in and actually become that person. Yeah. And it's okay to do that. Like, how does that ideal version of you behave? Like, and you know exactly what you would do. If I was a millionaire, I know how I'd behave. I know exactly what I would do. And it might not be like, but we have that fear of that. Like if I had, like, I'd be like, here you go. I would be very free flowing. Like I would want to support other people. I would want that for like I have that vision. Like you want to know who you are and how that person would act. So I love that. Yes. And the next piece of it, guys, that kind of leads into this, and we talk about this all the time, but this is like how you're breaking down. Again, we're just kind of repeating this, but this is where that if you're like, where do these daily non-negotiables come in? This is where that comes in order to continue to move that needle, to get that 1% better, to shift, to keep climbing up that mountain towards that vision that you have. These non-negotiables, this is what we talk about, and they should be in all aspects of your life as you're moving towards these goals. And they're the things that you do. You hear us talk about this a lot, but they're the things that you do even on the days that you are tired, even on the busy days, even on the days that you're like, fucking I don't want to do this, And I want to just add this a little bit to this too. This is where your circle comes in. Like Nicole will challenge me when she doesn't even know it. Jen will challenge me. Like these two silly birds decided to do 10K before 10. I was slipping up on my steps. I saw them post it. I was like, well, shit, nobody invited me to this party, but I'm sure
I'm
gonna
doing
show
it.
up. And now that's the name of the game. But what that did is that pushed me a little bit further. And you, like Nicole said, you have that here in this tribe, guys. Like you can lean into this tribe and this tribe will challenge you, and like that's what happened. That's literally, and then I'm like, all right, 10 before 10, watch me go. But that was just the push that I need. And Nicole, I'm going to speak for her in a minute. She's the same way. She sees I push 10 before 10. So you know what she's got to post? Well, I just hit 11K before 10. So there you go, little Miss Show Off. So then and you will see the two of us play this game. But that's an example of like things that you'll do in your circle. That's how I can keep a non-negotiable. It's not that I can't do it on my own, but that's where you're pulling these people in that surround and who you surround yourself. They're going to elevate you. They're going to challenge you, even when they don't know they are. So when you look at your non-negotiables, guys, like what the fitness things are. Like fitness, is your steps. You're tracking your nutrition. These are examples. This movement, workout, but with faith, maybe it's something like 5 minutes of simple as 5 minutes of grounding yourself, journaling, whatever. It could be meditation. You don't have to sing kumbaya, to increase your faith. But what are some of the things we talked about? Brain dumping, journaling, creating routines. What are things that you can do to strengthen that if that's what you need to strengthen? For me, that was a big thing that I had to do. And we talked last week about this too. Sometimes it's words. Like last year for me, a big thing that was on my vision board is I anchored with 2 words. Does anybody remember what they were? You can type them out.
Peace and freedom.
Peace and freedom. Yeah. And here's the funny story. I don't think Nicole heard this. She wasn't on last the call from it. peace and freedom. When I started to build around peace and freedom, those were the two things I wanted. And I knew what it looked like and I knew what it felt like. And I knew the non-negotiable steps that I had to take to get there. And by the second week of January, I met Nicole. We had a conversation, done and done. Two businesses merged. I got what I wanted. She got, like, she doesn't even know that, like that. But I had this vision. She was actually in the vision, doesn't even know it. Like, I mean, like, I didn't physically see her, but I saw the vision. And it was like, that's how fast these things can shift. I want peace. I want freedom. And I knew what it felt like, guys. It was a feeling, it was a thing, and then attraction, doom. Right there it was, came out of left field. We both knew it was meant to be. So, but it's showing up and feel, it's like that's a little bit off of topic from here, but like it's doing those hard things, guys, over and over. It's showing up, it's doing the things that feel uncomfortable. So it could be journaling.
I think it's off
That's
topic.
where I went with that. I was gonna say I had to write about it, guys. I was like, where did I get on that topic? It came in faith, and I was talking about like the things that I had to do. I had to strengthen my faith and my belief. And once I did that, I attracted Nicole. Aren't y'all lucky?
And now look where we're at. And I don't think it's off topic. I think I love the way that you position that when you said I had to anchor myself around those two things. And I think that's really, really powerful is if you anchor yourself around, and you guys with this vision board, and you can stare at it every single day, and you can anchor yourself around, whether it be a couple words that you give yourself, whether it be, you know what I mean, the vision in your head, or whatever that is, but anchoring yourself into the, you know, what is, like Jules said, it's going to be peace and freedom. What is going to bring me peace and what is going to bring me freedom? And anchoring yourself in every decision you make is taking you closer to that goal. And you can ask yourself, is this decision taking me closer or is it taking me farther? And I think there's a world where you have to sometimes stop and ask yourself. And it's like a lot of the times we react just out of emotion. And something that's been really powerful for me is like, okay, Nicole, like really centering myself when I get there. And it's like, am I acting out of emotion or am I acting out of logic? And a lot of times it's not to say that it's not okay to be, females are just emotional creatures as is, but it's like, are those emotions driving this decision right now? Because I know for a fact this decision is not taking me closer to this goal, right? And I can't say that I always stop, and it's not like I can't say I always act accordingly, but it gets me thinking in a different way. And so I think if you allow yourself to anchor around whatever these pillars are for you, and you give yourself, I love that you gave yourself 2 words, and it's peace and freedom. And it's like, is this decision taking me closer to those things, or is it taking me farther away from those things?
Yep.
And it's that easy. And I know it's simple to talk about. It's not easy to execute, but when you break it down, it really is that easy. So if you're questioning, nope, closer or farther, it really is. The buck stops here. If it's taking me farther, nope. If it's taking me closer, yep. Regardless if it's uncomfortable, it's hard, it's challenging.
And that's what she said is very true. That is legit what I did. Everything decision I started to make, even though I had something in all these pillars, every single one of these pillars evolved around peace and freedom. And every decision I made is exactly what she said. It was like, I'd look at it and go, is this gonna make me peace? Bring me peace? Nope. Okay, moving on. And it was hard. I made some very hard choices in the beginning of that year based on those things. So, when it comes to flow, guys, like when you're looking at non-negotiables, like again, this has to do with those boundaries. I think a couple of you talked about it with family, friends, even yourself. Like, you know, are your daily boundaries? This is a rough one for me. Like, but I'll tell you what, my flow and again, it'll take me closer to peace if I don't have my phone with me in the bedroom. Because, like, guys, you know, and again, we talk about these little things that you guys don't think about, but this thing right here, man, this can go down. This can really mess with your mind a lot of times. Like, it takes us down some, like, what you're seeing in your feed and your algorithm on a regular basis, like Nicole talked about a social cleanse. Sometimes that's necessary because if you type in your phone, has anybody ever realized their phone, like, you think it's listening to you, right? Like it'll just start pulling stuff up. Sometimes, like if you're we were talking about like you are what, you know, we attract what we put out there. Sometimes our phone starts just showing us things that will bring us in a place. So doing that phone cleanse or not having a phone in bed, it's a way of setting a boundary. So these are just examples. I would, when I'm looking at my daily non-negotiable, guys, think of like 2 to 3 per pillar. Like what are 2 to 3 things that you can commit to under each pillar, I would say, that you come to as non-negotiables. These next 2 slides I like. Then you got your receipts. So now this is the fun part. Like when you meet these things, like when you hit somebody, we talked about this, when you trust yourself and you nail your truth, like remember, this isn't your, I'm calling it your truth here, but what's the word I'm looking for? Your identity. It's not measured. It's measured more, actions show up in evidence. There's a saying around it, but like evidence is what shows us what we're doing is correct. Like the receipts, they are the evidence that we need that we're doing the things right. And finding like what your real truth is, like why you want these things within each pillar, and being really honest with yourself. Again, this is where I was talking about like getting like writing about it and really looking into it. And Tina, you talked about like family, like, well, why is this relationship important? And being really honest with yourself about it. Like, and then giving like examples of when you start to see that needle move. Once you understand, like again, fitness is easy, guys. You have us to help you support, but I logged 4 workouts this week. I did that, like looking at the receipts that are moving the needle forward. I actually increased my step goal by 1K. I nailed my nutrition. I hit my macros across the board, but looking at, again, these pillars and where are these receipts coming from? What are the things that you did really, really well? Because the wins, guys, this is the big piece. This is the big piece when you start to reflect on these receipts, these wins, these examples of what you're doing well that are getting you towards the goal. That's when you start to trust yourself. And like I put here on the bottom, which is really true, it's what really anchors your nervous system. Our nervous system is really what creates a lot of chaos in our lives. I know this. My nervous system has been pretty messed up a few times, and it can really throw us off kilter. And when we start anchoring those wins, we start like looking at those receipts that are showing up, like, ooh, this is a good one. That like settles the nervous system, the fear, the what if I fail type of thing. It starts building that confidence. I followed through even on the hard days. That feels good. It feels good to just say that. I did that. I did it even when it was hard. Nicole, I showed up even, I faked it till I made it. I showed up. I did the thing even on the hard days. It was hard, but she did it. It was hard for me to get on stage for the first time in this teeny little bikini, shaking in my boots. I didn't belong there. I was standing back there thinking to myself, these people are bodybuilders. What am I doing here? Like, again, I had to do a very good job of faking it till I made it. Then I got up there and I was like, oh, okay. And then it snowballs. It just keeps moving because you start to build that confidence. So those receipts, guys, and all of these truths, these wins, that's why, how many of you have ever gotten a check-in from me and you said, or maybe Coach Jen even, I don't have a win. And what's the first thing that I say? I see somebody smiling. Your first.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
Come
you
back
do.
to me with the win.
Yep. That's why, guys.
Everybody's got to win, no matter how small.
That's right. Always. And that's why, guys, because the reason why we're so adamant about you giving us a win, no matter how big or small in what area of your life, is because this is really the thing that sets the tone for you. If you can say, I did this really, really well, It's the biggest part. It's the thing that helps to continue to propel you towards these things. So always looking, and there's always a win. And generally, I can look through your check-in and find the win, but I need you guys to find it. You always talk about the win. You just sometimes, I didn't have a win. It was the worst week. No, you always have a win. It could be like I put here. I hit my non-negotiables 90% of the month. Well, it's better than 70%. I followed through on the hard days. I stopped avoiding and started showing up. Little things like that. Let's see, Renee says, we can craft the standard emotional anchor as one overarching statement or separate for each pillar. I think it is overarching, like Nicole said, definitely. Tara,
I
fear.
said overarching, sorry, just because I feel like you should have overarching, like within all of these pillars.
Yeah.
Like this is overarching was peace and freedom. And within each of these pillars, is this bringing me closer to peace or freedom, or is this taking me farther away from peace and freedom within each of these pillars? So you should have this overarching theme that you're working towards, and then the non-negotiables, the daily, that fit within each of these pillars.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to be quite honest with you guys, that was overarching. Like those words, and those were just two words that I chose. Like it was how I wanted to feel. And if that helps you, like definitely take that from me. And it is very true. That was overarching I didn't understand the question, but that's yes, that was overarching over everything. Like everything I did in every single pillar, did this bring me peace or freedom? And I followed that all year long. It's also like even when I competed this year, again, like, was standing on that stage going to bring me peace and freedom? The answer was yes. Was standing on it a second time this year going to bring me peace and freedom? No. The one time did it. Doesn't mean I'm never going to get on that stage again. But I looked at like every decision I made. So yes, overarching. We talk about this a lot too, and I just tossed this in here because I think it's a really good reminder. And we kind of talked, when it comes to, again, like looking at these goals, because sometimes they can feel overwhelming, and to break them down, again, monthly, daily, hourly, all of this, you have to continue. That is how you eat the elephant in the room. If you walked into a room, guys, like that is like one of my favorite sayings. There's no way you could eat the elephant, but if you eat it one bite at a time, it will get done. But looking also at your new baseline and how fast, this is one of my favorite sayings, how fast can you get back to baseline? One of my favorite things. Like Nicole talked about this too, guys. Like she said, like sometimes, right? We can all get like that way, but how fast? Because we all are allowed to have our moments. We're going to have our moments. There's going to be the moment where maybe you fall face first into the pizza. Maybe you have a bad day. Maybe you have a blow up. You're trying to create a stronger relationship with a family member, a friend, right? And it just, oh shit. I shouldn't have said that, and I did the thing, right? You're gonna have those moments. You're gonna have those stressful moments. You're gonna have those panic moments. But how fast can you get back to baseline? You're going to spiral sometimes. That's okay. The objective is how fast do you get back? How fast do you get back? And that, if we relate it to nutrition and fitness, that's the thing of, does it go a meal? Does it go a day? Does it go a week? Does it go 2 weeks? How fast do you get back to baseline if something falls? How fast do you pull yourself back? But again, applicable in every single one of these pillars. Because the reality is your new baseline, and some things, I hate to say this, it might be boring, specifically when it comes to doing things that are a little uncomfortable, and again, when you hear us talk about this with nutrition, it is sometimes doing that thing repeatedly over and over again is boring. So knowing that boring is okay. Not everything has to be exciting. Repetition is what's going to build your muscle. It's going to build that confidence. Consistency over perfection, guys. Not everything is going to be perfect. You have to let go of the all or nothing mentality. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're trying to create something that is consistent, that is long lasting. You're trying to become something, right? We linger in becoming her. So always looking for that consistency and allowing that boring. It's going to be boring. Consistency is boring sometimes, but it becomes a new way. It becomes like the boring. When you're consistent at doing the boring after a while, actually the boring is no longer boring. Why? Because it becomes this new lifestyle that right now you think about it and you're like, that doesn't feel like very fun. But once you get there, and a lot of you guys can identify this, like, I could never be that person. And then all of a sudden you are that person that is 90% of the time focused on this one thing. Okay, if we talk about nutrition, fitness, that's how you show up. And then all of a sudden you just are her. And you're like, well, I remember 3 months ago, 6 months ago, like that did not feel like that could happen. And then all of a sudden you're there, but it was because you embrace the boring, which we talk about a lot. And you consistently embraced it. And like we talked about, you quickly would learn to come back to baseline. Like how fast can you get back? So if the perfection doesn't happen, which it's not always going to be like that, how fast do you get back to that baseline? And then lastly, guys, remembering action. Like you can't wait until you feel ready. Like I think we talked about this in the beginning of the call. Like things are going to feel uncomfortable. If you wait, like Nicole talked about this too, if you wait until you feel ready, you're never going to do it. You just got to act as if, because, there's one of my favorite sayings. There's a song that I'm listening to right now. It's on one of my hippie playlists. And it says, basically it talks about the reflection in the mirror. And I'll share the song with you. It's really good. And it basically says, the mirror is never going to smile back at you until you smile at the mirror. You have to act first. If you want to see the reflection in the mirror looks for the action. So if you're looking at the mirror and you want to see something in the mirror, that mirror isn't going to do anything until you take the action. That hits hard with me. Nothing's going to happen until you take action. You can stare at that mirror all day long. But until you blink at it, smile at it, give it a thumbs up, it's never going to take action until you do. Act, and everything will follow. It was meant to be. All right. Who's got something that they want to talk about before we move forward? Is this becoming clear, guys, on how you're going to map this out? So the reason I'm going through all of this is as you start building and collecting to build this vision board, these are all the things that I want you guys to start to think about. And as you're building this board and you're putting together your vision, you want to be looking for like what we talked about. It's not just the actual things, but what are the other things that come in, like, the financial piece of it. But we talked about like, who are some of the people that you might be surrounding yourself with? What are some of the things that you wear? Like, I remember one time, like I had red bottom shoes, like Jimmy shoes on there. Like, is it like, are these things, like, it doesn't just have to be that financial, like, how does that person show up? Let's go back to the finance thing. Like, what do they drive? What do they wear? You can cut and put and build your board out like that too. Like, what does that person do? There was one point in time where I was like, well, if this is the financial piece of it, then I'm able to help this many women. This is why I want to do this thing. Like there's numerous things that you can do. Like peace and freedom, it's going to be allow me to help hundreds of women if I have this thing. If I'm able to let go of this thing and I make this decision, this is what this feels like and this is what it's going to look. And here I am, hundreds of women. So like you have to like put that out. The last piece, guys, and this is just like, where was I going with this? We talked about this last week. I think where I was going with this, and Gloria, sorry, this is my own PowerPoint making. I think I did kind of okay with it. So looking at the last piece of this is doing, and I'm going to put together a work. Well, actually, if you guys would like this, I was working on putting together a worksheet of almost doing a review at the end of, like, we do weekly check-ins, but almost doing a monthly review yourself. And at the end of the each month, asking yourself, not asking, did I fail, but what did I learn? And some of you guys have heard me ask you that in your check-ins, like, what is it that you learned? We don't ever want, we don't fail, but what did I learn from that? Like, like questions that you can ask yourself at the end of the month when you're looking at how close you got to these things. Was that easier than I expected? Some of you it is. Some of you like, you know, could I improve? Like, could I get 1% better at this thing? What helped me be really consistent and on point? What are the things that I need to change, tweak to be able to do things differently? And by the way, if this would help, we can make you a sheet like that you could do every month if you wanted to as well. But just creating, like we've been talking about over and over again tonight, is that awareness. That is like the key piece of it. All right, I'm done talking. You guys were very talkative last week. I want to hear some of your thoughts on this. Raise your hand, give me some thoughts.
I'm really good on calling on people if you want me to call on people.
Go for
I'll
it.
randomly call. I'll do it.
Go for it.
Oh, somebody raised their hand. Who raised their hand? Sorry. Jen raised her hand. Go for it,
All right,
girlfriend.
go for it.
So I fell into a hole on the interwebs of Mel Robbins.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I've like watched a bunch of her stuff. And one of the things one of the ones that I watched was, you know, when you get like to the end of the year and you're just like, "God, I haven't done anything this year. Like I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, I never did it," or, you know, basically just, I just didn't do anything this year. She had said, go into your camera roll, go back to January, and you look through your pictures from January to the end of the year. And then look and see of all the things that you took a picture of and things that you did do that you just forgot about that you did. Because all the bad things that happened is the only thing that you remember. And
Mhm.
so, like, those are things that I've been trying to work on because I'm really bad about the negative and that negative mindset, you know, which is probably part of my problem with everything too, and like writing. So just, I don't know, maybe that's helpful for someone.
It's a really good idea. I like that idea. I'm gonna also do, you don't have a problem. You have opportunities. Opportunities. There's no obstacles in life. There's only opportunities. And asking yourself, like, so that's one thing I'd love to see you work on. Okay? No problems. You're
Probably
not.
one of the biggest, something that my husband always tells me is, he's like, why don't you do this? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, why don't you help people? I was like, cause like that's, you know,
Mhm.
like I barely help myself. Like, how am I gonna help other people?
Mm. How
And
could
he's
you? What
like,
do you have to offer? You are. Why don't you? That's a good question.
I know. So that's something that I have to, you know,
Yeah,
dig deep into.
it's a very good question. I like it. You have to tell me what the answers are that come up to it because I'm going to be curious.
I'll let you know when I figured.
Looking, guys, at the reasons why, not why can't I, but why can I? Obstacle, and that's another thing that I like to reframe a lot. Opportunities, not obstacles. Every obstacle is an opportunity. And if we start to look at things as opportunities over obstacles, those things start to move out of our way. So think about that. But remember this right here, guys. We don't do massive overhauls like we talked about. Everything is little small steps repeatedly over and over again. And that's what's going to get us 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 minute closer to our goals. I saw that I left this here. And just remember, guys, like when you're looking at your goals, and that's what we're trying to help you with, like on your check-ins and as we do these things, the more specific that you can be and making sure it's, like SMART goals are very like putting this around some of your goals is helpful. And we try to, like when it comes to your fitness, we try to help you a lot with that, making sure they're measurable, they're obtainable, they're relevant, there's a timeline set to them. Because if the timeline is a big one too, like that's where you want to set it like at the end of the year. Because if we always are like looking and we're like, hey, well, it'll happen sometime. Like the timeline thing is important. Like I don't ever expect anybody to compete, but I will tell you, and I think that's probably where like some of us go or where we want that goal. One of the things about that for me was there was a timeline attached to that shit. I had to be in a tiny little bikini on this date in a stage. So it was specific. I had a certain look. It was measurable, very measurable. It was like every time, every week, it was very, very measurable. And some of you may go, like, I think there was a point in time that I wasn't sure it was attainable. Was it relevant? Sure, it was relevant to me. It was something that I didn't really, it was something that I'd wanted my entire life, but never believed in myself enough to do it. But that time piece of it too was huge for me because there was a time point I couldn't just keep pushing it off because somebody went, here's the date, you're doing it. Okay. So thinking about how you can put that like aspect around it is very helpful as well. As we go into, guys, the next call, remember, we talked about this at the last week. So just a reminder, make sure like you have a very good, strong why around all of these things. And that's where those words come in. But when you come to the call, guys, some of the things that you want to be doing leading into, I think it's January 3rd, and we can just say it's a Saturday. So we figured we would do this on a Saturday because most of you guys are free and we wanted to kind of get through the holidays and have most of you show up. So when we come to this final call and we start to create the vision board, we really kind of do it as a party. Depending on how many of you guys show up, we'll break into breakout rooms and we'll literally build it. Like you can come with part of it built if you want, but you can come with like none of it built if you don't want to. And we're really going to go into breakout rooms and have conversations and just kind of have like literally workshop and be building things in our little rooms. And then we'll kind of come back and talk about like all the things that we've done and learned. So we won't, depending on how many of you show up, we can do it in one big call. But the way that I've done it in the past that works well is we break out into little rooms where we can kind of work in a smaller group. But things that you can start to collect is like look for pictures. These are really good things because they're that visual thing. And like I said earlier, like if it's like I had Jimmy shoes on there, I've had vehicles on there, things that I wanted that felt like, well, this is what I want to drive one day, this is what that like that version of me is going to look like this, wear this, dress like this, live in this, all of this. And I think I shared with you last time I put my vision boards away. Like I had a picture of my old house in Las Vegas on my other year's vision board, and the only reason I had it on there was because it was one of my favorite houses. Well, my old house in Las Vegas suddenly came up for sale again, and it's like all the stars are aligning. So things move. I didn't even know why I had it on there, but there were just certain things. So like you can cut out pictures, you can get them off the internet. I sometimes will use sticky notes and I'll write words like peace, freedom. You can get really crafty and creative and go and buy things, and then you can make it as fancy or not fancy as you want to. And then you don't necessarily have to have just something that you can stick the things to. Those are just some of the things that I would.
January 4th is a Sunday. Did you say the 4th?
I said the 3rd.
Oh, the 3rd. That's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Someone said the 4th. I was like, oh, and then I thought you said, okay. I was confused. Sorry.
No, I think we said on the original post Saturday, January 3rd, because
Okay.
it was a Saturday and it was after the 1st. We wanted to give you guys a chance to get through all your holiday stuff. So ideally, we thought about it. We thought, oh, we could do it before January 1st, but you guys have all got a lot of stuff going on. So if we did it on the 3rd, we figured more of you guys would be available. We haven't set a time yet, though. That's to be decided. So you guys can weigh in in fact, you're all here. You guys can type in the chat what would be a good time on a Saturday. You can vote. "10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time." And while I'm collecting votes, anybody have anything they want to chat about? Nicole, you have anything to add? Jen, you have anything to add? Amber, anything to add? 10, 9.
No, it's been a great call.
Oh, dang, that's early for us West Coasters. Yes, it is. The East Coasters aren't being very nice to you, West Coasters. Guys, on the East, I'm not sure we can actually do that early for the West Coasters. We might have to agree to be 10 o'clock for their time or 9 o'clock for their time and move a little bit. But it sounds to me like I'm hearing morning is a good time to do it on a Saturday. All right. Before we go, guys, do you have any questions, thoughts? I know I keep asking you, but I want to make sure you guys feel good. I did create, like I said, a worksheet for you guys that you can break this down even more. I would continue to work through the goals, keep writing, keep journaling. The more that you do this, you're collecting, like I said, the pictures, writing down. I would write down as I was going into building it. I am doing it right now. I doodle and I'll start to write down words, and they'll just, I'm looking at my refrigerator because I was just doing some artwork, some doodling before, and I'll just start writing down words that come to me, and then that's literally, it's just whatever I'm feeling. I'm still really big into the peace and freedom thing, though. I like my peace. What are your words, Nicole? Put her
It's
on
really
the
ringing
spot.
with me this year. Intentional is always such a strong
Yeah.
word for me. It's really been a word that's just changed my whole outlook on so many things. This is honestly the first year, which is crazy for me, that I've ever gone into a year that I don't really have any fitness goals. I've embodied this as Jen is. This is who I am. I don't have a desire to add a ton of muscle or I'm really content with where I am within my physique, within my body. My goals are definitely a bit more personal. I'm really looking to settle into and just, again, find a bit more grounding, and peace really resonates with me right now. You guys know I've worked really hard within the polarity space, the masculine, feminine, and really trying to shift more into that dynamic for myself to just give myself a bit more breathing. So that is where I'm at right now. I don't know if I necessarily have words, but peace, when you said peace, it really resonated with me. So intentional is always a word for me, but peace is something that I've just really imbalanced. I think balance can be overused at times. And I know that there's times, and I'm really a firm believer that there are times in life where we are purposely unbalanced for a reason to chase things and to achieve things. But right now I'm in a place where I really am looking for a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So
And I, you know, I got her to share a little bit too, because, and I like that you said that, Nicole, intentional, because I think sometimes I love that once we find a word, it becomes our word almost like, and it's like, it's so like, guys, like there's power behind that. So like, I resonate, like peace and freedom are two big things for me. Um, so like, yeah, I think there's a lot in that. So like allowing yourself to kind of, and the other thing that, you know, Nicole brought up that, and I talked about this on the last call too, it's okay. There are going to be some of these pillars that aren't going to be, that's okay. You may not have a huge goal in them. You might not have one, and that's okay. Like it might check the box. I did that type of thing. That's okay. Like you don't have to have one in every single one. You want to try to look at them all, but there are times when I might not have in all of them. Like last year was a good one where I didn't have a really strong one under like faith and spirit. I felt really confident in that. You know, I felt very grounded, very secure in that. There were other areas that had some open loops in them that I needed to close and I wanted to get, but I felt very so, and it could change year to year too. Every year it could look a little different. You know, you might have an open loop in one of them, but it, you know, like it's okay if you don't have a goal in a specific one. I'm assuming you all have fitness goals here, but that's why you're here. But you know, there's other ones that you may be okay in. And you know, that's okay. I gotta look at these last two comments. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm gonna say goodnight. I will post this recording. And like always, if you guys, I'm going to create the worksheet based off of tonight's call. If you guys wanted, if you want something to work through this, just let Jen or I know and we'll post it in your tasks. If you need the worksheet from last week or the PowerPoint from last week, again, just let us know. We'll post it in your tasks and you guys can have it. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.